James Comey, the man who would be king. Last Friday, the Department of Justice indicted James Comey, who was then director of the FBI. James Comey is the first person to be indicted under Trump purge of the federal bureaucracy. And there are many of them to come. But why is it important that James Comey is the first one? Very important. Because of all the people that's going to be indicted in the next few years, fittingly, James Comey would be the first one. Because Comey by himself almost took out candidate Trump in the 2016 election. By himself, he sidelined President Trump from his first term in office. With Russiagate, impeachment, and endless investigation, he sidelined what President Trump was trying to do. He wiretapped and investigated, and whatever else they've done to President Trump's inner circle during the during the election, and even after President Trump won the election, he investigated Donald Trump's wiretap incoming administration. Who would do something like that? And subsequently he put in jail General Flynn almost, or he did. I don't remember. But he took out a lot of people that President Trump wanted to put in office. Why is this important? Well, to understand this, you have to go to the original maker of King, J.Edgar Hoover. The building that when I used to visit Washington, D.C., is a building named after him. For almost the whole decades of the golden age of America, from 1940 to the 1970s, for almost 5 decades, J. Edgar Hoover was the first and the longest serving uh, director of the FBI. He was so powerful that everyone in Washington, D.C. for half a century was afraid of him. J. Edgar Hoover was a closeted gay man who loved to cross-dress. And he controlled the most powerful institution in the United States. From organized crime to well-known politician, he had something on everybody. Everyone in Washington, we know, is dirty. Or they have a secret they don't want the public to know. And if there's one man who does know or can find out, it's J. Edgar Hoover. When John F. Kennedy was in office, Robert F. Kennedy wanted to kind of tone down his power a little bit. But Robert came to have a meeting at one time, and it's well documented. Hoover treated him like a schoolboy and sent him back to the president. The reason is that J. Edgar Hoover had a lot of dirt on the Kennedy family. You know, he had a good relationship with Joe, the Kennedy's patriarch, but for Robert and John, they're well-known playboys. They had a lot of affair with women. After they married, they had an affair with a lot of women. One of them is Marilyn Monroe. And we know Marilyn Monroe slept with both of the brothers. And J.Edgar Hoover had information on that. And the Kennedy tried to get rid of J. Edgar. And they tried for years. But you can't get rid of somebody who got so much information on you. So when you want to run for office or you want to know the dirt on your opponent, J. Edgar is your man. And he did that for so many years that he became the maker of kings. He either help you get in office or he going to help dethrone you. But J. Edgar was that man. And when John F. Kennedy was assassinated, J. Edgar made sure that Robert would never be president with all the dirt he had on him. Some people, with conspiracy theory today say that J. Edgar had something to do with the assassination of both brothers. Why is this important? Well, that leads us to today. James Comey. James Comey is a very, very, very intelligent man. But I think he had a great thirst for power, uncontrolled power. One of his, before he became director, one of his first prosecution came uh, with Martha Stewart, America's homemaker, Martha Stewart. He indicted, prosecuted, and convicted her for insider trading. If we investigate and indict every single insider trader in Washington, D.C., it'll be run by chipmunks. There won't be anybody left to run Washington, D.C. You think about Nancy Pelosi. When her and her husband came to power, they had $1.5 million worth of money. Today, her and her husband has over $400 million of their fortune. The squad, AOC and all her friends, they ran for office when she couldn't even pay rent. And now AOC and the squad are all multimillionaires. Why is that? If you work in DC and you know in advance what policy you're going to put in or what's going to happen, and all the things that you do affect Wall Street, if you have that inside information, you can buy stock that'll double and triple because you have that inside information. You know what you need to buy. And Washington is king of the insider trading. But I assume that's a perk of being in office. And that is something President Trump trying to address today that prevent them from trading while they're in office. But that's not going to work because I didn't do anything. My brother and sister bought that stock. My dog bought the stock. But they all going to be multimillionaire regardless. So it brings us back to Comey. He wanted to be king, or at least the maker of king. Obama created Comey and weaponized the FBI to make sure that there'll never be another Republican president in their lifetime. And they almost succeeded. They never thought that Donald Trump would be in office. They never thought he was going to win. They laughed it off when he ran for president. And that's how he became president, because nobody expected him to win. And they let their guard down. And that was their first fatal mistake. So today, the statute of limitation ended today to prosecute James Comey. He only had 3 days left. And the reason why they hadn't prosecuted him earlier, because his son-in-law was at the office supposed to be prosecuting him. And they tried to delay, because they know if they pass today, you'll never be able to prosecute James Comey ever again. And that's why Donald Trump pushed the administration to make sure that is done. That is important, because if we don't do this now, these politicization, this weaponization of all our institutions will prevent democracy to ever able to control our government ever again. That's why I hope they throw the book at James Comey, so that people like him will no longer be able to do the dirty tactic that they've been doing for so long. I'm Holly, man, and this is my journey.